And this is February the 19th. I'm still alive.
Please listen closely as our menu options have recently changed. Thank you for calling
February the 19th, 2026.
Which I really hated and really dreaded. I was leaving for school, and I needed some money, and he was having his board meetings there in Montreat, and I wanted to go in and see him. I'd already said goodbye to him, but I was really wanting to get some more money from him. But I remember I went to the board meeting, and T.W. Wilson, his assistant, was there, and I said, Uncle T, which that's what we call him, would you mind going in and asking Daddy if he could just come here for a moment? He said, no, Franklin, you come on in the room. And I walked into the room, and my father stopped the whole board meeting, introduced me to all of his board members, and then he took about 30 or 40 minutes with me. And most of the time we were just general conversation, but yet he took that time. And that's all of his life. He's always done that. He's taken time with his children. I don't care if the President of the United States, and he took me to the White House when I was young. He and I would go spend the night with President Johnson, and then later when President Nixon was in the White House. So he would do things with me.
Now, comparing your background with Rawls, he had something to rebel against. He was unloved, he was abused, he saw an awful lot that made him angry. You're saying your rebellion did not grow out of legitimate reasons. It was just there for some reason.
Well, I think it's legitimate reasons. I think it's just the evil nature of man's heart.
Yeah, that's good.
And I was wanting all of those things in life that I thought would please me, that Christian parents are telling you not to have. The girlfriends, or whether it's the drinking, or whether it was tobacco or marijuana. These are things that I was going to find out for myself, and I wasn't going to take advice from my parents. So it was just the evil nature of heart of Franklin Graham.
Not all rebellion grows out of parental mistakes. Boy, I wish every Christian knew that. Now, some rebellion is just in the heart of men, Franklin, as you say. Some of it is just an independent desire for power and for selfishness, and I'll have my own way. And while your parents made a lot of mistakes, Rawl, and I'm sure yours did too, Franklin, nobody's perfect, but yours represented a free choice, and kids do have a free choice, and we have to recognize that, and it isn't appropriate in every context to say, where did I go wrong, when you've given the best you've got, and it wasn't good enough. You found the Lord about 22 years of age, I guess.
I was 22 years old when I really gave my heart to the Lord and made him the Lord of my life. At the age of 8, I invited Christ into my heart, but to be honest, I don't think I really made him the Lord of my life. I don't think I knew what lordship meant at 8 years of age.
If you learned at 22, you did better than a lot of people do. Well, our third guest is Mike McIntosh, who is the senior pastor of the Horizon Christian Fellowship in San Diego. Mike, I know that you experimented with drugs. Franklin, you mentioned marijuana. Is that as far into the drug lifestyle as you went?
Yes, sir, that is.
Yeah, you got into heavier stuff, didn't you, Mike?
Right. Franklin, I'd like to touch on a couple of things he brought up. One is that he said it wasn't when he was a teenager that the rebellion started. It started earlier than that. And that's how it was with me, too. It just really came to fruition in my teenage years. And secondly, though his father traveled, he recognized the strong need for a father figure in his life, and I didn't have the father figure. That always made me a little uptight.
You were from a broken home?
From a broken home, right. My father, who's still alive, is an alcoholic and a gambler at 78 years old, and I never knew my father. In fact, in the last 4 years, is the most I've ever seen him alive. And that was through him seeing me on television and preaching in the Portland Coliseum one night. But I had a stepfather, and I thought my stepfather would be the answer, and took me off the farm from a foster home. And then when he divorced my mother, my life began to fall apart at 10, 11, 12 years old. And by the time I got to high school, that's when all the hostility that was in me from the time I remember back to 4 or 5 years old just really came unglued.
You were abused when you were in that foster home, weren't you?
Well, later when I had my experience with LSD through psychotherapy, it came out that was a big part of my problem that I'd repressed over the years, that the man of that house had molested me a couple of times. I would never confront that issue in my life. I always wondered why I partied so much and chased so many girls, and I realized I was trying to identify my masculinity and to repress that. And I had so much bitterness and hatred and anger as a little guy from that having happened to me, and I was always a fight away from anybody that would light my fuse.
You know, Mike, we played a trick on you and Rawl, and I don't know if you all know it yet. This may come as a surprise to you, but we called your mothers, and we talked to them. I called your mom, and or at least a member of our staff did, and asked what she remembers about your rebellious adolescent years and so on, and she wasn't aware of a lot of it.
Oh, right.
You got away with it. But she said the worst rebellion occurred when your brother was killed in a car accident.
That devastated me. When I was about 12, I made a commitment to Jesus. I said I wanted to accept him as my Savior in a Baptist church, and never followed that up, though I was the president of our youth group in high school. At that time, it was the largest high school west of Mississippi. And I was trying to find Jesus, but I had nobody guiding me to the scriptures or discipling me. And that afternoon, when a friend of my brother's pulled up beside me on the street and said, "Get in the car," and I said, "What's the matter?" And they said, "We want to tell you that your brother was killed today in an auto accident." I was 15, and my life was never the same from that time until about 30 years old, even after having been a Christian. The bitterness I had against life, coming from the broken family, the alcoholism in the family, living in a foster home, having nobody to help me, though I was always trying, I was given a real sharp mind by the Lord, that made me so angry at life that I predetermined in my heart that I was going to push and push and push and push until I met somebody big enough to set me down. And I ended up being Jesus Christ.
If we had to characterize what you were feeling at that time by one particular emotion, would anger be the emotion? Rawl, is that what you were feeling?
That's what I was feeling, yes.
You were mad.
No, mad.
Who were you mad at?
I was mad at everybody. My mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters,
The police?
The police, everybody.
School teachers?
Everybody. I mean, they kicked me out of school so many times that I didn't even care.
Why were you so angry? I mean, you've told us about this stormy, troubled childhood, but is there anything else we can get a handle on?
You know what, Dr. Dobson, I think deep down in my life, looking at everything in my life, going to nightclubs with my dad and see my father getting drunk, and
it's still tender down there. Isn't that interesting? All those years later, you can still feel what you felt at that moment.
it was a real hard part of my life. Yeah.
Did you stand and watch him?
Oh yeah, he would leave me outside while he got drunk.
Did it embarrass you?
Yes, it did.
Franklin, how about you? Is there that kind of anger? Were you feeling the same things? Or you were just looking for life?
I was just looking for life and was on kind of a roll. I wanted to get all that I could get. And there were things that I was forced to do that I didn't want to do. I had to go to school to New York. And that's the last place I ever wanted to go was up north. I was a southern boy. And to put me into that type of setting. And then I got into high school. In the South, we were taught respect for our parents, for our teachers. And I went into a private school in New York where the children showed absolutely no respect for anybody or anything. Total disrespect for authority. And I just have to say that rubbed off on me. And as a result of that, going back south to finish my education, I had no respect, and I just was going to get all I could.
That confirms a view of mine. I've watched that happen, where you have a class that starts in kindergarten in the first grade and the second grade, and a large number of those kids stay together throughout the elementary school years. And if they get 4 or 5 bad teachers who allow them to get away with the kind of thing you're talking about, or if the principal does not represent somebody that they respect, you can establish disrespect in their minds. You can give them a disdain for authority that follows them into adolescence and even into adult life. You can destroy kids that way. This is why I feel so strongly about discipline in the classroom. And I know you guys feel the same way about that. Rawl, we passed over you success God has given you in the ministry that He's placed you in, that there's still that tender spot there from childhood. Those years stay with us forever.
Right,
They just never get away.
It's like I remember the story where you could get a board and you can nail the nails, take the nails out, and the scars remain. And it's always there in my heart that you just need to see the Lord Jesus Christ work in my life, and look at all these guys. I love these guys.
Have those experiences now made it possible for you to understand other people in
Yes.
ministry who are going through those kind of
Yes, it's really neat because He's giving me a real compassion for those. I like working with these tough guys, you know, because I can really relate to them, because deep inside we really want to be humbled by the Lord. Deep.
Well, gentlemen, we're just getting started. We've just met you, and there's a whole lot more that you can say to us. So let's just continue the conversation next time. And well, I appreciate you opening yourself in that way.
Beautiful sermon on a day that my first day out of the hospital.
From men who have literally walked through the fire and come out on the other side with a testimony that can strengthen someone else's faith. You're listening to a special edition of Dr. James Dobson's Family Talk, featuring a classic conversation Dr. Dobson had with Franklin Graham, Rob Reese, and Mike McIntosh. As we think about the vitality of these testimonies, it's just so amazing to see how God used all three of these men during their earthly existence to have an impact on the kingdom in such a powerful way. And now here once again is Dr. James Dobson with some closing thoughts.
We're talking to some parents today who I think needed to hear this, and frankly to hear the rest of the interview next time. I know we all make mistakes, and the Lord is wonderfully able to restore the years the locusts have eaten, as evidenced by the testimonies that we heard today. But perhaps there's a mom or a dad listening out there who needs to be reminded of just how far-reaching their impact is when they pursue a divorce, or when they don't deal with a child's addictive behaviors, or when the parent themselves is alcoholic or has other problems that aren't handled. Two of the men we heard from today still have the scars from what happened back here. Yes, the Lord can heal those wounds, but wouldn't it be better if they were prevented in the first place? Maybe that's one of the messages from this interview.
Well, I'm Roger Marsh. Thanks so much for listening today. Be sure to join us again next time for part 2 of this classic interview featuring Franklin Graham, Raul Reese, and Mike McIntosh. It's coming up right here on the next edition of Dr. James Dobson's Family Talk, the voice you can still trust for the family you love. This has been a presentation of Dr. James Dobson's Family.
Listening to WIOK 107.5 FM on the radio dial. Tri-State Gospel, Falmouth, Kentucky. 41040 zip code. Post Office Box 50. God bless you. Gil and Jan Hammond. 36 years of gospel music and on WIOK and stations down in the southern part of Kentucky. Ah, yes. A great team. Gil and Jan Hammond, John Hammond. Joel's in heaven now, and carrying on the radio station. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 36 years. Headed on to the doctor's office today. Going by June's exit here. Get to her house on Overlook Drive. 422, right? Huh? 42. Home or dead, Mom built stone house up there at the end of the street. I always like to go up there and film it. It's a beautiful piece of skilled work. Where they grew up as kids, the Guyman clan. 9 of them. And Mom and Dad. Got the fog down here, don't we? We probably won't even be able to see the Cincinnati skyline.
1075 Tri-State Gospel WIOK, Falmouth, Cincinnati. 570 Southern Kentucky Gospel WIDS, Russell Springs, Jamestown.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Trump presides over today's first meeting of his Board of Peace, focusing on reconstruction and stabilization of war-ravaged Gaza. More than 24 countries have signed on to participate in the board. The president's chief White House spokeswoman says there are, in her words, many reasons and arguments that one could make for a fight against Iran. Nothing definitive, but speculation abounds on the possibility of a conflict with Iran. Havana and Moscow have ties going back decades, and now Communist China is looking to Russia for oil, circumventing U.S. blockade.
Is meeting with top officials in Moscow amid worsening fuel shortages and overcast on the island. He says deprivations are getting worse after President Trump threatened sanctions and tariffs on any nation that sold oil to Cuba. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has urged on the U.S. and its blockade to promise continue support of Cuba and protect the country's sovereignty. The wait list for Cubans trying to buy fuel can stretch for days, and Russian companies have stopped selling tourist packages because the Cuban government...
We're going to Dr. Allen's office, aren't we? On the right here.
Cuba could derail warming ties with Washington.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. It has to do with his association with the late Jeffrey Epstein. The deficit narrowed to just under $901 billion last year. That was a decline from $904 billion in 2024. And unemployment applications fell to 206,000 last week, the lowest level of the year. On Wall Street, the Dow down 300 points. This is SRN News.
This month, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln.